Welcome to this edition of Miles Ahead, and we are reviewing this, the new G90 BMW M5. There's only one place to start with this. It's controversy surrounding this car. Is this the most controversial car of this decade? It is, of course, the weight. Now, BMW specifies that this model, as tested, weighs 2,510 kilograms unleaden. So it's getting towards 2,600 kilograms by the time I've got in it. And it's got carbon fibre roof and carbon ceramic brakes. It's 5.1 metres long, it's 2 metres wide. It's like an SUV, really. It's heavier than an X5M. Now that comes in at around 2,400 kilograms, and it's around 300 kilograms more than the Lamborghini Urus Performante. So on paper, that is quite an alarming weight for a saloon to carry, but cars, however, are not driven on paper. So join us for this review. We're going to take it out for a spin and we're going to take a look around it, and I'm also going to point out some areas where I think you can save a few pennies on buying this car. So the model tested here with all the optional extras comes in at £133,670, but it's got a base price of £110,500. I reckon you could get a cracking example of one of these for under £120,000. So stick with me, I'll point out those as we go along. I'll start with the facts and figures while we're here as well. So we've got an 18.6 kilowatt hour battery. That's what's doing the damage regarding the weight, but we still have a 4.4 litre twin turbo V8. It's good for 707 brake horsepower and 1,000 newton meters of torque, which means 0 to 62 is ticked off in 3.5 seconds. So yeah, despite the weight, despite everything, this car is not slow. Right, let's take it out for a spin, then we'll have a walk around, we'll look at the options and features on it as well. Right, well, let's see what the G90 BMW M5 is like to drive. Now we're just pulling away and the car starts up in hybrid mode. So we've got the hybrid functions down here. So we've got Dynamic and Dynamic Plus above that, and they both bring the 4.4 litre V8 into play. I must say, one of the nice things about having hybrid is that you can just roll through towns silently. You're expecting a car like this to perhaps sound and look a bit obnoxious, but there's no noise at all to be had and just glides along in electric mode. I work in West London. My commute is a 32-mile round trip. You get a stated range of 42 miles from a full charge in this. Now, whilst you won't get 42 miles, I did get 35 very comfortably, which I think is pretty good. It's a usable real-world electric range. So, yeah, it's handy to have. But we will move out of that. So I'll flick it into dynamic. Just get the burble from that V8 as it starts up, and yeah, it's nice to have that. And I think BMW, really, they should be commended for the way in which they've been able to keep the V8 going. I think they've obviously looked at what's happened over at Mercedes and what happened with their C63. I don't think anyone bought that car, did they? No one wanted a 4-cylinder C63, so they're going back to the V8, and BMW have been able to keep that. So we'll get onto the weight now. So I've got the M buttons here, so I'll put it into M1 Dynamic Plus, get a bit more raw from that exhaust, and it just takes off this car. I mean, if you were just dropped in here blindfolded and you had no idea about this car and someone asked you how much it weighed, there is no chance you'd say, yeah, about 2.5 tons. It just does not feel that heavy. Out on the road, that weight is a complete red herring. You don't notice it. It is masked on the road so well. You've got the 707 brake horsepower, you've got 1,000 newton meters of torque. You just do not notice the weight. The only time it slightly gives itself away is when you're going over speed bumps and imperfections in the road. You get that sort of secondary bounce as you go over them, which is a bit SUV-like. I guess that's just they've had to go with the air suspension to try and hide the weight and try and manage the weight, so it is a little bit soft. I think that was a bit of a surprise, certainly coming from driving the M3 and M4, which you could argue are, if anything, a little bit stiff. And there's not a hint of that in this. This is not too stiff. It is, if anything, too soft, and that is even as you go through the modes. It is really soft. It just bounces along. So we've got a fairly lumpy bit of road here, and it just undulates across here quite nicely. Right, so we will turn off, close the message saying we're low on fuel there. We'll sort that out soon. So dive into the drive settings, you can turn the speed limit warnings and the lane keep assist off. It's great. I mean, the assisted driving in this, it's got the Drive Assist Pro. That's a couple of £1,000. It's really good on the motorway, really handy in that environment. You know, the adaptive cruise control, distance control, lane keep assist is really good in that environment. It's a bit fidgety in town. I don't think any manufacturer's quite got on top of that, and the sort of speed limit warning was better than some. It still can get a bit lost on where you are. Right, it is desperate for me to stop for fuel, as you can hear. But right, we've got a bit of open road here. So we've got the left pedal here, which is, we'll put it into boost mode. So we're in Dynamic Plus, we're in all that. We're still in a 30, which is coming up to a de-restricted bit of road. So we will respect the speed limits, because that is one thing you will very quickly get to license losing speeds in this thing. So we've just got a couple of cars coming towards us. If I hold the left pedal down, yeah, into boost mode, oh, it's just, it is instant and savage. It just takes off. It's hilariously fast. I mean, again, like the way it accelerates, you know, where's the weight going? How are they masking this? It's deeply impressive. I'm sure you'd have to take it out on track to like find the limits of it. We're going to do that again if it'll let us. Now you have to give it a bit of a break before going into boost mode again. But even without it, just takes off. I mean, it is so fast, this thing. I mean, just more than fast enough. I know it's slightly slower than its predecessor, the previous generation M5, but I mean, you're not at any stage thinking this car's too slow. And one thing that surprised me actually with the weight, I've experienced it with some of the super SUVs, is that because they're so heavy at motorway speeds, they struggle for acceleration compared to like saloon cars, sports cars, etc., just because they're carrying so much more mass. That doesn't always translate to sort of on-road performance at motorway speeds. In this, it's just performance. Doesn't matter what speed you're going at. It is hugely impressive, this thing, the way it does that trick. I'm going to go back down the way we came, because I think we might get an opportunity. And even like round and round about there, it's really well balanced, this thing. Right, let's see if we can get another boost out of it. Hold that down. There we go. You're into boost mode. Floor it. Oh, it's just that instant slug, and it really just rifles off. I mean, it is, yeah. It's entertaining to drive in its own way, just like sort of that brute force. But it's also entertaining on the twisty stuff. Like, it's really well balanced through corners. You get a nice amount of body lean. It's all well managed. It feels quite organic as well. The way it leans in through corners is quite nice. And there is loads of traction to work with. Loads. I mean, yeah, you'd have to start taking it out on track to find the limits of this car. Which also pertinent question actually is, who would buy a G90 BMW M5 and take it on track days? I just don't think it's that sort of car, which brings me to, as I mentioned at the top, a couple of the options that you might not necessarily need in this car. One of which, so it's got the ultimate pack on it, which is £19,900, which rolls in everything basically. But one of the major expenses in that is the carbon ceramic brakes at £8,800. They've got fine stopping ability, this car. They do a great job, but the standard brakes will do a similarly good job as well. They will just fade a bit quicker. But if you're not going on track, I don't necessarily think that's something that you really need to be overly concerned by. So I think, you know, you need to consider the use case, or your personal use case of this car when you're configuring that. And also it's got the carbon exterior pack, which brings the roof is carbon fibre, and you get a carbon fibre rear spoiler, which we'll have a look at on the walk around. I mean, it's a 2.5 ton car. I mean, what weight are you saving by having a carbon fibre roof and carbon fibre spoiler at £3,000? I don't think you need it, again. And then there's the M Sport driver's pack on this car, which is £2,200, which increases the top speed of the car from 155 miles an hour to around 180. I mean, again, do you need that? I really don't think you do. You do get a day's driving tuition though with an M Sport Professional with that pack, so you know that might appeal, but you know there are other ways of doing that. You know, you're getting on for saving sort of thick end. So what we're talking about, 9 plus 3, 12. You're getting on to saving over £13,000 there if you don't spec those options, and I really don't think you need them. Otherwise, yeah, the other options like the comfort pack and the drive assistant, it's got the self-parking stuff as well. I think they are worth having. The heated and ventilated seats are definitely worth having. Certainly, like we've finally got a bit of sunshine, first days of spring here in England, and it has been nice to have those. But yeah, I'd think very carefully about your use case before you start speccing things like the carbon exterior pack and the carbon ceramic brakes. Yeah, you'll save a bit of weight, but this is a really, really heavy car, which it does a fine job of masking, as I've said anyway. I mean, that really is a talking point. A lot of people have criticised this car on paper, and you know, as I said, you don't drive cars on paper, and this car is sort of definitive proof of that. It just drives brilliantly. I think it's a really, really impressive car. It's a really impressive hybrid as well, and I think that's got lost in a lot of the conversation around it. It's barely perceptible switch from electric to V8 power, and it's so good that you can still have the V8. I think that's something that we should be celebrating really in this day and age, that they've been able to keep that engine alive. You know, 4.4 litre twin turbo V8 and the electric motor, and it's those bits, like I said at the top, just being able to drive through town so softly, quietly, serenely. I think that's a really nice feature to have. Like, we're stuck in traffic again now, it's always the way, isn't it? So you flick it back to hybrid and it'll start to use the battery again once it works itself out, and it's sort of, the self-charging capability is pretty good. If you go out for a spirited drive in it, you will quickly put a few miles back into your battery range as well. All in all, this car has surprised me. It's a little more complicated to get to grips with than the M3 and M4. They're the sort of cars you just jump in straight away and go, oh wow, this is brilliant. Whereas there's so many menus, so many options to play around with. It really does pay to sort of familiarise yourself with all the settings. I think the temptation is to go out and try and find that Goldilocks setting, which, you know, may or may not exist. I think, you know, it's when you're getting into those sort of finer details that the weight will start to make itself apparent, when you are getting into that sort of thing. But for everyday use, I mean, the mixture between able to do like a silent, emissionless commute to then hitting up your favourite country roads, getting a V8 into play, it transitions really well between those, and that's why I say it's a really good hybrid. Some cars have struggled with that, like the hybrids haven't been everyone's cup of tea for that reason, because you know, they're sold as best of both, and often you get the worst of both. I think with this, you're still getting a tub thumping V8 and you're getting a very usable real world electric range, and I think they should be applauded for that. And also just the way things are these days, the way the car industry is going, they've got to meet these emissions regulations, and these are going to be the way to go. And also, if you're running this as a company car, it's going to be cheaper to run than an M3 or an M4, because the benefit in kind rate's that much lower because it's a hybrid. So you could argue they're still finding their feet a little bit with some of these technologies. I certainly wouldn't disagree with that argument, but I think this certainly represents a giant leap forward for these cars. I think it is very, very impressive the way they've brought everything together in here. So I'll just try to turn around here. Yeah, you don't ever really feel the size, even it's quite manoeuvrable, tight spaces. All the camera technology here is really good. Makes it very easy to drive and get hold of, and you can just pull out into gaps very quickly there as well. I've really enjoyed driving this car. Great on the motorway, great commuting, great out on a country road. I think they've done a fantastic job. Yeah, I'll just be wary of a couple of those optional extras. I don't think you need them all. But anyway, yep, hugely impressive car to drive, masks its weight superbly, easy to criticise from afar, but I think as soon as you drive it, all of those concerns just melt away. But anyway, we'll jump out, have a quick look round and wrap this video up. And let's conclude with the Walkaround. So I think you'd be hard pressed to call this a pretty car. It's certainly imposing. I've grown to quite like the looks of it. Yeah, it's not beautiful, but it does, yeah, imposing is definitely the word. That's the sort of word that everyone arrived at. We'll come around the side here. So the paint is an optional extra on here. It is called Grigio Telesto Pearl paint, and it comes in at £1,095, and those 21 inch at the front to 22 inch at the rear bi-colour alloys I think are really quite attractive. I really like the way they look. Come in for a close look, so you also get a look at the carbon ceramics and the gold brake calipers back there as well. I think they catch the light quite nicely with the black and silver effect on them. They certainly lend something to the car. Yeah, I'll come around, so you get the carbon fibre wing mirror as well. So it's mentioned drive along, there's the carbon fibre roof. I mean, given the starting weight of this car, do you really need to save that weight by spending £3 on a carbon fibre roof and carbon fibre spoiler? I'm not so sure you do. But come round to the rear, so we've got the quad exhaust pipes at the back there. So yeah, again, just a hint that you've still got that V8 power there. And yeah, as I mentioned, I think it's fabulous that that still exists on the M5. While we're here, we'll have a quick look in the boot. So we'll just open that up. I mean, loads and loads and loads of space in here. We've got charging cables in there, so 3-pin, and the Type 2. I think you pay £300 for the Type 2 charging cable. You're going to need that if you're using public chargers, or indeed if you get one installed at home to charge it. It charges pretty quickly as well. So yeah, if you can keep it topped up regularly, then you will get a decent range out of this. So we'll just come around. The sunlight's a little bit dazzling on this side. While we're here, we will just dive inside as well. I think it's got a rather nice cockpit in here, actually. So you get comfort seats as standard, really adjustable, heated, ventilated, all that sort of stuff's worth having, and part of the comfort pack, which I would be tempted to acquire at £2,000. Yeah, so you've got the iDrive 8.5, I think it is. I probably should look that up before saying this, but very easy to use. You've also got the rotary control for operating it down here. One thing that I don't like as much as the M3 and M4 is the loss of a lever down here for the gears, because you can change the gearbox response rate, and it used to be a little button on the back of the gear shifter. You could just press that, so you could really quickly go through that. Now you've got to dive into menus to access that, which is a bit of a shame. I'll just fire it up to show you the options while we're here. So yeah, comfort access, so the seat drops back in. I'll just change to a wider angle, there we go, get a bit more in the shot. So you've got your instrument cluster down here, volume, and you've got your driving mode. So if I press the M Hybrid button there, that's going to start up the Android Auto now, but yeah, so you've got your drive modes, electric, hybrid, which it starts up in by default, dynamic, just brings the V8 into play when you start her up, and Dynamic Plus as well on there. But yeah, quick look through. I mean, there are an awful lot of options in here. I mean, the main ones are drive settings, so you can get straight into speed limit warnings, lane departure warning. Yes, deactivate now. Get that off. Otherwise, yeah, there's quite a lot going on in here. I think it's well worth your time spending time with it up front just to familiarise yourself with everything. Then we come across to the cockpit here. You've got your M1 and M2 buttons, which are very easy to configure, and then all your usual controls, but it's not sort of death by controls on the steering wheel. It is an incredibly chunky rim though. I mean, arguably too much. I mean, I quite like it, but I can see why some have complained about it. It is incredibly wide. Right, we'll just we'll flick that off, and we'll just have a quick look in the back to round this off. As you'd expect, plenty of space and practicality. So I left my youngest child seat in there. She's got ISOFIX on the outside 2 rows. You get USB-C chargers, that sort of stuff, and then yeah, the rear bench as part of the comfort pack. You get heated and cooled seats back here as well. Just a quick shout for the Bowers and Wilkins surround sound audio. That comes as standard actually on the car. I think it's really good. It does, however, seem to sort of work better for certain types of music. I was listening to some John Coltrane records, and they sounded a lot better than some of the sort of more modern music I was listening to on it. I don't know why that is, but yeah, it is overall a very good sound system. So yeah, to conclude, I've really rather liked this car, and I would dare say if you can get into one for under 120, I would say it represents pretty good value. It's sort of best of both in that you got that sort of new hybridisation. You can just glide through sleepy towns and villages silently, and then when you get onto a bit of open road, you can raise a bit of hell. And yeah, whilst yeah, the weight is obviously going to be a sticking point with this car, I think until you've driven it, it's a sticking point. Once you have, I think it just evaporates. Yeah, I've not taken it out on track. I'm sure that is where the weight might start to present itself a bit more. That's my suspicion. But yeah, to be honest, out on the road, I think the weight is a bit of a red herring with this car. Overall, yeah, been very, very impressed with it.